Yeah, welcome everyone. So good to have you here for the live forecast and energetic tune-up for November 24. This month was difficult to forecast, not so much because of a lack of clarity, but because of the issues with expressing what is unfolding, what is unwinding. Okay, so when you see the world through spiritual eyes, obviously, I still have a life. I'm a mother. I'm a wife. I'm a teacher. I'm a business owner. So, I have to go through all these 3D issues. And when I do the readings for the months, I also reflect on how this might affect me, and I can feel the split in me where, I'm saying things that I'm seeing, and at the same time I'm feeling my own resistance. So, yeah, November is all about navigating chaos. But it's completely different from how we think this is going to go. I can already give you that. Please feel free to ask any questions for those of you who are here live and join this energetic tune-up. If you're watching this on YouTube, you can ask questions in the comments. First of all, I want to address the energetic alignment that is called embracing change. So these energetic alignments that I compose every month, they are there for us to go back to in times, let's say, when our mind or our emotion, when our physical experience is taking over, making us forget who we truly are, making us forget about our true nature. And that's also the main resonance in this month, namely remembrance. So facing the winds of change, which is sort of the more poetic version of navigating chaos, comes in with something very beautiful, something creative, something imaginative. And I want to just read this to you, and then I will ask you how this alignment felt for you when you first listened to it. It's going to be at the end of this forecast for those of you who haven't listened to it yet. Facing the winds of change. When the roaring winds of change are blowing into your face, stay calm and feel how you become real. When your ego is kicking and screaming, embrace it and know that you grow. When your fear is trying to take over, breathe through it and remember that you have a choice. And when your heart is aching, love yourself regardless and shine your light within where it's most needed. So when I do a reading like this, the same with the invocations or the energy alignments that I am recording for you, I am addressing multiple channels in you at the same time. This is a big part of understanding how energy coding or spiritual energy travels. All right, it doesn't just travel through the word, the semantics, or the mechanics of language. It travels through the resonance, through the way I intonate, the way I enunciate, and the way I pace my voice. So there's a lot of different things in here that many of you who have been working with me over the years already know. It is something that I want to bring to your attention right now because I will mention something to you that is relevant here in November 2024 as an antidote, as a healing method, if you will, to counter the darkness, the mind virus, as this darkness is going to come to us, is trying to enter your field, is trying to alter the way you perceive yourself and the world that you're in. And it's very important that we have something to go back to, and a lot of times it's not going to be the individual words, but the word with the picture and the sound and the resonance. Yeah, this lion that is facing the wind of change. If that is all that comes up in you, then you basically already have sort of the totality of this healing resonance internalized. Yeah, and that's why I pick my images, the pictures that I sent with my alignments, but also with my writings in my blog on my website, very consciously. Yeah, somebody has already commented on what this alignment felt to them. There was a part in the invocation that had to do with loving truth more than ego. Yeah, and no compromises. Yeah. So I won't settle for anything less than truth, love, or freedom. Beautiful, Astrid. Thank you for sharing this. Any other comments or parts of this alignment that particularly resonated with you? Who would like to share?
Hi, Jona.
Hello.
How are you?
As you can hear, my fifth chakra is a little bit rough right now, and obviously I am experiencing the world just like you guys are. So, but other than that, since I'm European, I will always ask. I will always answer the question when asked how I am. So, fine. And how are you?
I'm actually I'm actually good. Um, when you just read Facing the Winds of Change, it was the first paragraph in the Roaring Winds of Change.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that was really quite calming for me. Really quite calming. When I read the invocation, nothing and no one has the right to violate my integrity or boundaries, restrict my freedom, or make me believe in untruths or lovelessness.
Yeah.
And making conscious choices. Yeah, that is probably the biggest part that came up for me.
Wonderful. Yeah. I can't really say that one part of the invocation is more important than the other because it's the totality of it, and because we're all on the same path, experiencing sort of the having this physical experience of our higher self here. But we all are, on sort of our individual timeline, or go through things in different orders. So different parts will resonate with us. Yeah, so take note of what resonates with you, because that is basically your inner guidance telling you, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's like, exactly. you know. Yeah, that's inner guidance. That is inner guidance.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you resonate with a picture or with a music or with a word or sentence or a poem or a movie, those things have quite a spiritual significance because they speak to us in ways that can bypass our mental mind. Okay, yeah, they can speak to our feeling soul, to our sentient soul, in different ways. Now, sometimes they can also speak to us in ways that they trigger our say our desperation, our loss, our longing, our addictions even, yeah, or our obsessiveness. So we have to be careful with, just sort of going by like what, quote unquote, what resonates with us. Yeah, so for that, we need to train our discernment a little bit because some things, like if I watch an ad where somebody opens up a bag of potato chips, that's going to trigger something in me. Oh, I want potato chips too, Do you see what I'm saying? So that's not the kind of resonance that I am talking about here. I'm talking about the deeper resonating within, that brings forward something in us that we may have not been fully aware of at a given time. Yeah, so that's why it's always good to take note, even in your daily life, of things that you come across and you're like, oh, this is suddenly front and center. I wasn't even aware of this, that this, that I feel this attraction to this, or, that this is something that strikes a chord in me. Yeah, so remember this, guys. This has to do with your inner guidance. People are often confused when it comes to their inner guidance. They think that it's something like a sort of a clairvoyant movie that you see in front of your eyes, and that this is what it has to be like. Your inner guidance very rarely and really only sort of in the sort of archaic sense comes in as a clairvoyant sort of true vision. Okay, we are at a much farther development of our different soul stages now, where our clairvoyance is no longer just a voyance, a seeing. It is an actual sensing, an actual feeling, an actual image, and like an imagery, yeah, like an association, if you will, or an intuition, an inspiration. So these things don't necessarily come in visually. Yeah, they can be triggered by words, by sounds, by intonations, by colors, by all these things that we use as tools to tune into our sort of spiritual side. Yeah, that we use sort of as methods of a spiritual initiation, also known as, training, refining, purifying, and ennobling our spiritual senses and organs. Yeah, so pay attention to all of them, guys. Yeah, even doodling. If listening to something and your hand starts writing something or doodle something. Always pay attention to this. This is why I always give these extensive note papers, these templates for notes with every session, because there is there's so much more in your sensing, in your feeling and perceiving than you are aware of in your mental mind. Yeah, you have many more senses, and the more attention you pay to them, the more refined they become, the more sort of answers they can give to you. Yeah, thank you for sharing, Kamal. Any other or specific passages that resonated with you?
I have one sentence,
Yeah.
just where you are now. I want you to be the voice of my heart.
Aw.
It was really, really strong resonance,
And
and
this truth,
I
right?
was,
Mm-hmm.
I was nearly. It brought me nearly to tears.
Yeah.
This sentence.
And that is inner guidance too, Annette. Okay, when something like a deep, deep sort of heart opening occurs. So this feeling that you just described, where you nearly brought to tears, or where something, it's like an opening. Okay, something
Yeah.
opens up. For some, it feels really warm, or it comes with other sensations around the chest area. And for some, it's like really more emotional and feels, I guess, like a sadness, but it's not. It's not sad.
It was not sadness.
It was,
It felt the more moving, I would say,
yes,
moving.
beautiful. Yeah, so
Yeah.
this passage is addressed to your true self. Yeah,
Yeah.
the proxy, the placeholder for your higher self. Yeah, where we basically go into, gratitude, and recognize that, well, we're not really always listening to it. Okay, but that it's always there. And in that moment when we do this, we we can feel its presence. So this is basically how the true self answers back to you. You see?
Mm.
Yeah? It's a feedback signal to you. Yeah?
Mm.
It says, oh, she's talking to me. Yay, I'm here. I'm here. The same could be said about, guardian angels or, spirit guides. Yeah? When you address them, they respond. It can be very individual how this response is felt. But cool that you can feel this, because that's sort of the subtleness. It's a very good. It's a good example for the subtleness of our inner guidance. Here, Annette, for you, it was, I love who I am. Yes, and that resonates for good reason. Yeah, because there's a lot, that when we actually get past sort of our mental mind and our emotions, when we realize who we truly are, and that is just beyond, sort of that physical person that we are. Yeah, that there's so much more to us, and that we can indeed, out vibrate nature, if you will. Yeah, nature can exist without us. It will continue doing what it does. All right, but what we are adding to the spirit realm by being here, by being alive, and especially by becoming aware of who we are, is something that adds to the entire collective, yeah, of human souls. And that is something that is relevant here in November, because when we look at times where things get a little challenging, if you will, to just name it, where the world is kind of going through a little bit of a crisis and sort of a lack of direction, okay, where we don't really know where to find the guidance, where we can find the right path for ourselves. It's very, very important that we understand that, well, we do have a choice. Yeah, but it depends on, how well we can master, the way we see ourselves. If we just see ourselves as a physical body that has a shelf life, yeah, an expiration date, that is born one day and dies one day, it's very difficult to tune into the miraculousness of the human experience. But when we do, there's something like a deep connection that can unfold in us. And that connection is what we call spirituality. All right, this is a connection with something greater than ourselves. Yeah, and it takes a little while, for us to get through all the windings, of our conceptual understanding to realize that we are a part of this greater, whatever, it is that is greater than ourselves. Okay, it's just that in our physical experience, we can really only feel our smaller, our lesser self, which in psychology we call the ego, and spiritual science we call that, sort of the lower ego, or we can agree here on just calling it the ego. That is the part in us that is bound to materialism, that is bound to the physical experience of itself. And our true self that, basically mediates between our higher self that is trying to come through as the sort of grown-up, spiritually conscious soul self, okay, that one, works its way through our physical experience with, basically the number of years, the number of incarnations. So the more experiences we gather, the stronger that connection becomes. And obviously, the more aware we become of our own experience, the better we understand our own experience, the easier it is for us to tune into the higher, greater sort of power that brought us into existence. So, in other words, spirituality is a major part of our human developmental path. We're born with all the potentiality for it and even the senses and organs for it, but we have to train it, we have to develop it, we have to pay attention to it, we have to use it. It's like a muscle. If we don't use it, it dystrophies. It's not going to be available for us, or at least not in a reliable way. So the more we pay attention to our inner self, which includes all our inner sensations, our feelings, and our perceptions, the more we realize that there is something much greater than just ourselves. And it allows us to, take a step back sometimes, especially when things are a bit chaotic out there, and we're like, whoa, what is unfolding there? And this is really what is happening here in November. And the energy readings for each of you showed this very, very clearly to me. So this is the beauty. It's basically the I don't want to say verification, but it's the test here. When I do the readings for the collective, and then I enter into the clearing and the tune-up with you as individuals, I can see these codes replicated in you. All right, they unfold differently for each and every one of you. So this is obviously not news, but quite interesting at times. Yeah, how regardless of who we think we are, and regardless of where we are, on our soul journey, how these developmental stages of our soul are overlapping, and how we sometimes have to go back to certain things, and how sometimes sort of new realms of understanding ourselves open up in front of us. This month is it's a profound month. Okay, this is we're going to remember November 2024. Okay, yeah, I can already tell you that it's going to basically sort of set the tone for the next 20 years. This is how long it's going to take for us to go through this inner and outer transformation process. This doesn't have to be a bad thing. Okay, so let's just look at the forecast here a little bit. I'm not going to read the entire forecast to you. You have already had the opportunity to read this. It will be on my website as well. I'm just going to pick the parts here that I think are quite important. So I called the weather the weather forecast, the energy forecast, a new dawn, navigating November's energetic weather conditions. As we enter November 2024, we are called to embrace change as an essential part of our personal collective evolution. You guys are already used to this, as we see everything as part of an evolutionary process. This month is deeply significant for us all, as it ushers the main collective task for the next 20 years. We are met with a powerful force of transformation. This is important, guys. This is an outer force that is coming in. And growth. So force of transformation and growth energy that aligns us with the deep inner work required to release old patterns and embrace the new. It's basically, us having to go through something so that we can clear it out, so that we're finally done with it. But with this, we also need to be prepared to face the storms of anger, unrest, and chaos that will enter our personal experience. What does this mean? It means that it's not going to go easy. It's not going to go over, just in a breeze, okay? People and our own ego will start kicking and screaming. Why? Because our ego doesn't like change. It triggers the fear of the unknown. And so you understand that the fear of the unknown is sort of the core fear of all of us humans, will basically stand in the way of understanding the greater purpose of all of these experiences. So as this is not a feel-good outlook at the weeks and months ahead, we have to remember that it's necessary to embrace what we want if we want greater change to take place. Typically, collective outer chaos always functions as a catalyst for human evolution. We know this from the past, like it or not. They follow the inner changes that precede every storm. The more aware we can become of our inner spiritual processes, the more prepared we are for the consequential outer material manifestation processes. There is no need to be afraid of what is already there. We have been feeling it all along. It is the time to navigate our inner dualities in new ways. So this is something that all of you have already dedicated yourselves to. Now it's just sort of pay up, Now we got to show, that we really want this. It's important to remember that there is no good or bad in the chaos that temporarily unfolds. Only growth and healing. And this is a quote from Johann Wolfgang Goethe, von Goethe, in his most significant work, Dr. Faustus. Dr. Faust asks the devil, Mephistopheles, who he is as he appears. And he answers, I am part of that power which eternally wills evil and yet eternally works good. Again, here, a literary connection that I'm weaving for you. Also, really good literature for you to study if you are into, spiritual science. You'll love it because it has so many of these truths that we are learning sort of about the spirit realm integrated there. When storms are heading toward us, we need to remember who we are and what matters to us. Having gone through 2 hurricanes in the past 4 weeks myself, as you all know, I was able to observe how the initial fear of chaos literally drove people into insanity, only to ground them and make them awake enough to their true values, such as compassion, helping one another, coming together, and sharing our resources. During this time, I have experienced true selflessness like never before. Remember this. We will all see the end at the light of the tunnel and become able to make sense of the greatness that is working through all of us. Yeah, so don't be afraid. Yeah, fear drives you into insanity. It works like a mind virus, and I will mention this to some of you here in your personal readings. There's a lot more. I go very deep into the personal and the collective transformation tasks and the cosmic influences. I want to say something about this. The new moon, as you know, is always sort of the unfolding, the new seed, for what is coming, is right on the 1st of November. And the 1st of November also signifies a quite an important sort of spiritual meaning. November is the month of Ahriman. May is the month of Lucifer, by the way, for those of you who are familiar with the spiritual science and duality of darkness. And it is basically the month of the dead, the underworld. Yeah, so Ahriman is basically the lord of the physical, the what lies beneath, what has to decay, what has to decompose in order to serve, the light again, in order to grow. And this is part of all our, so not just physical life cycle, but also our spiritual life cycle. It's very important that we understand that. Okay, so we might call these forces darkness, but in the end, as Goethe so wonderfully sort of compiled, all right, it is through the confrontation with untruth, through the confrontation with unlove, through the confrontation with unfreedom, that we grow, that we form our spiritual identity. Yeah, so we have to understand here that, when I say something like November is the month of the dead, it's the month of Ahriman, really what I'm saying here is that if you want to overcome your fears of darkness, you're going to have to accept that darkness is there. Okay? And darkness is not just the absence of light. That is sort of a medieval kind of profaning of the forces, the cosmic forces that we are surrounded by. Yeah, darkness is real, but it serves light, and that is something that we need to understand. That is something that will help us to get through any kind of trauma, any kind of wounding, any kind of discomfort or fear. Yeah, that every pain, every discomfort that we are experiencing serves a purpose. What is that purpose? The purpose is to help us grow, be it through the confrontation with, untruths. What is that? Lies, trickery, mind control, gaslighting. Yeah, these mind viruses that I told you, like error perceptions through your mind. Yeah, positionalities and opinions and stuff. That these can all lead to you not being able to think freely. Unlove. Okay, what is unlove? It's the coldness. It's the disgust. It's the machine-like sort of degradation of life that we are experiencing in our material world. Yes, the materialism altogether. That's unlove. Okay, where the individual life has seemingly no meaning, no purpose, and through that confrontation with this coldness, this zombie-likeness, we can experience that there is something more. Yeah, we have to go through this. And unfreedom, I don't need to explain this to you really, but this has to do with us, feeling that we don't actually have a choice. And that too is an untruth. That too is a sort of a mind virus, a program. Okay, we've been told that we have no choice. We get mixed messages here. We're told that we have a free will, and then, that we can do anything we want, and then at the same time, we are told that we can't. And this is something that we need to acquire through our own will. This is something that we need to basically evolve into. Yeah, realizing that, yes, truth, freedom, and love are the three main pillars, the trinity of light. All right, and if we can focus on those, then we can face any darkness, because we understand how darkness works. Darkness will try to take away truth, through lies, deception, trickery, etc. It will try to take away love through, coldness and compassionlessness and all these things, lack of empathy and narcissism, and unfreedom through domination, tyranny, and terror. Okay, and these are things that we need to experience in order to, to decode, really. Yeah, to decode that we actually are more powerful than darkness if we understand how to, well, not just ignite, but also to cultivate our inner light, because it is there for us to shine the light into darkness. And there is nothing that darkness fears more than light being shown on it. Yeah, so that's why shadow work and so forth is so effective. Yeah, that's why it works so well. In the forecast, I'm commenting on the U.S. elections, on economic and political storms that we have to navigate. And I go on to talk about the main resonance here, which is remembrance. Okay, I mentioned this earlier, remembering who we truly are. Here with a quote from myself: the embodied soul self remembers the connection between love, healing, and abundance. The embodied soul self remembers the connection between love, healing, and abundance. Mm-hmm. So here I give a few sort of cues as to what we can focus on. What have we learned from our past? How have we implemented these lessons? Which changes did we make or wanted to make but were too afraid to pursue? What truly matters to us now? Then I go into the practical applications and go on to talk about the psychological components, how to align ourselves to change. Those are all blog articles that I write ahead of time, integrating spiritual material goals in life and changing the world one soul at a time. Yeah, so there's so much for the extra material that you guys were able to tune into. Obviously, there's often not enough time, and also not actually the right timing yet for understanding or for making sense of these writings. So I give them to you, those of you here who are in the Energy Training Club and the Energetic Tune-Up yearly subscription, so that you have something to go back to. Let's get to the practical part here and investigate how November will subjectively feel like. It will feel like an energetic hurricane. But before you know it, I want you guys to all remember these 4 words, before you know it. There is an unwinding of your higher path. You will know the right path before you know it. You will have answers before you know it. You will feel this through the inner guidance as described earlier here. That will show you the way before you know it. And what I mean with before you know it, I mean your mental mind. You will not be able to figure this out with your mind, guys. So those of you who have a tendency to mentalize, to futurize, to have anxious thoughts and sort of negative inner self-talk, I can already give you a little bit of heads up. You're going to have a hard time this month, okay? Yeah, and it's necessary. It's needed that you go through this, okay? That you realize how toxic, okay, your mind is if it's not mastered, if you do not know how to master your thinking. In the instructions and on my YouTube channel, you can find recordings from workshops where I talk about how to master your thinking. Here a little bit more of a visual representation of how I just saw this in the tune-up session with you guys. I called this the unwinding higher self. Yeah, that's how I saw this. And this is here what it looked like inside of you. And this is what it probably felt like or will feel like for you subjectively. You will feel that your path is full of obstacles and full of windings, and you will sometimes feel that you are stagnating, that nothing is happening, even though you try so hard, and all these projections, okay, that you send out into your own field, okay, through whining and complaining, and, well, that's the kicking and the screaming of your ego. And yet, if you look at this picture here, you'll see that there is an end, that there's a light at the end of the tunnel, and that is what you're being pulled into. So this is basically how the greater purpose and the greater plan works, guys. I know it's hard to let go of control, but that is what we are here to learn. And that is what this physical experience of our higher self, this training course here on the planet Earth in the physical, is for. Okay? Yeah, to learn to withstand the temptations of our feeling, yearning, desiring, to learn to overcome the temptations of our mind, yeah, the loneliness and the fear, the separation, yeah, that our mind brings into our experience if it's untrained. And then lastly, to learn that there is a sort of a higher version of ourselves already there. It's just our job to unpack it layer by layer. And we do this by overcoming our anger, our desires, by overcoming our fears and our inner separation. That's, in a nutshell, basically what our spiritual journey is all about. Another code here for you, really significant here in November, December, is that when we remember our light, it does not only allow for our inner light to shine brighter and wider, yeah, show us our path, but it also brings healing into our life and that of others. Protect and nurture your inner light, guys. That's why, sacredness is sort of a subcode here. Sacredness. That's why we shouldn't make any compromises to what is true to us, to what we love, to what brings love, truth, and freedom into our lives. Allow it to inspire you, to get excited about life, and let it weave into all that you do. Do everything you do with love. This excitement is like an eternal flame. It spreads to those around you. The sacred flame in your heart. All right, so coming back a little bit further down to earth here, the inner themes in November, and this is where we're going to start your personal readings. You guys have wonderfully texted me here. By the way, there was a question that I missed earlier. If I translate the invocation into my language, will it lose something? Will it lose some of its power? Yes and no. Okay? It depends on who does or who makes the translation. See, if you have a full understanding of what the meaning of it is in English, and you translate it into your native language with that in your heart, not if you translate it linguistically, okay? If you let an AI translate it, you will not, yes, it will lose everything. But if you translate it with holding that which resonates with you in your heart, then your translation will contain the same code. Yeah, it will contain the same code. I hope that this helped a little bit. Mm-hmm. The inner themes here is loving truth more than being right. Yeah, this obviously also relates to some of the political stuff that is going on, that we have to really refrain from, wanting to be right, from wanting our opinion to be the only opinion. And this links in with judgment. Yeah, you see here, consciously refraining from judging, that with 4 exclamation marks, okay, for a reason. Because if you insist on being right, your ego is going to dominate your mind, your mental perception, and that is strongly sort of tainted this month. Yeah, there's a mind virus in the field. So in order for you to overcome your own core fears of the unknown, which is inherent to all of us, you just simply can't believe in your mind, okay? You have to calm yourself and practice the stillness of mind, yeah? 4 exclamation marks here, yeah? Only so can you get to the clarity about what truly matters to you in an organic, in a natural way, so that letting go of what hinders your spiritual growth then becomes just a natural consequence, yeah? Yeah, that sort of final letting go of what you have been holding on to, as in like what you believed you needed or what you thought you had to be. Yeah? Also, along with this goes this no compromises with what is sacred to you. I mentioned this earlier. This aligns you to your higher path, and in that sort of helps you to tune into your spiritual senses, your spiritual organs. One last thing, guys, cultivating compassion for the human experience, which of course here is hinting at the error perceptions that we can all have, including your own. I have seen so much of negative self-talk in you, and this sort of self-criticizing and self-punishing for things that were said or done or not said a long time ago. You have to be willing to let that go. Understand that the way you used to perceive things was based on your consciousness level back then. You could not have done it differently. All right? If you carry this over, you are going to be in a complete illusion about yourself. That's then what we call shadow, guys. Yeah, we talk about, inner child aspects, and these are, from a physiological, psychological point of view, they're very real, yeah? So, things that occur in our early childhood and, adolescence, they do have an impact for our behavior. But due to the power of your consciousness, you can overcome that. You can correct that. You can change that. And that is what needs to happen now. Why? Because these mind viruses that I talked about, these dark energies that are coming in here in November, they are attacking you right there at your negative inner self-talk, at your lack of self-forgiveness, at your lack of compassion for yourself and other humans, and at your judgment. That is now your weakest spot. And it will twist and turn and invert and profane everything that is sacred to you, that matters to you. Do you hear me? Really, really important. Now, all that, while political warfare and unrest, is going on. This isn't going to go by quickly, but at least here for the United States, and since the United States is still sort of the, I guess, the sort of the superpower in the world, it will obviously ripple down to, all the other countries in that it's all interconnected, and the corruption and the money flow and so forth, ties back to the United States. So it's going to affect all of us, but it will, sort of come from here, combined with things that are going on in the Middle East right now and China. Okay, so you'll be shocked. You'll be shocked how this all unfolds. It's like bam, 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 and we're sitting in the middle of it, and we don't even know how this all happened. But no worries. These are all things that have to occur. We have to get through them. Okay, so yeah, that's all going to go. This sort of warfare kind of energy with attacks and assassination attempts, that's going to go on until February. Yeah. Worldwide, not just here in the United States. So we are in a social transformation. So all that is unfolding here, the unrest and so forth, is going to have consequences. Consequences in the sense of that it will actually start bringing real changes. But this will take until August next year. One quick remark about those of you who are invested in real estate. And also the financial investments that are tied to the real estate market, there's going to be a little bit of unrest here in those next six months. Unrest as in like similar to what happened in 2008. This is sort of the final conclusion of 2008 right now. Yeah, so these last, 16 years are coming to a conclusion now. And now we're going into the next 20-year cycle of our economy. Yeah, still the big shift energy, the big earthquake, and we basically have the go signal now for the war of all against all. At least in the outside, those of you who are tuned into the spiritual already know that this has been going on for a while. So with these significant dates in November that I've talked about in the forecast, we'll get to that here in a moment when I do the personal readings. We have to learn to neutralize outer chaos, focus on what is sacred to us, and this can include, ancestors, past loved ones. This can include Christ, or whichever sort of a saint or avatar you are aligned to, and it will help you greatly if you know how to tune into this, if you know how to do this kind of remembrance, and therefore sort of sanctifying all that you hold in mind and all that can protect you and that can strengthen you. You know how to do this. We have the Day of the Dead, or the All Saints and All Souls Days. Those follow Halloween, and right, there is on the 1st and 2nd of November is where this all should start. Here, a little recommendation for all of you how to enter this remembrance of the dead, not just like your past mom or grandma or dad or whatever. Those are people that are sacred to you, that you have, a deep relationship to, but also, all those who have walked on the path before us, including, John d'Arc, or even Christ, or Buddha, or, depending on sort of what you most align to, you can call this in. So when you do this remembrance, you're basically taking away from the power of Ahriman. This is so, so important. Yeah, you're shining your light out of the physical into the underworld, to the people, the entities that you recognize that you are connected to, that you have a direct connection with. And this is how you can do this. It's not so different from how you would probably do this intuitively, but there's something that you can do to make this more conscious and to give it more spiritual power. Start with lighting a candle. We do this intuitively, and have a picture of the person, or a picture, like an actual picture, like an image printed out or painted or whatever, that you illuminate with the candle. Yeah, this sort of helps, sort of for the field to form and to direct its energies correctly. Then visualize an experience with them. When I say them, I mean this can be your grandmother, but this can also be Christ, this can also be Buddha, this can also be, anyone that you would like to, sort of strengthen the connection with, share the light with. Okay, you can take a famous composer, or whatever, preferably those, obviously, who dedicated their lives to, spreading the light, and through contributing to the overall consciousness of humanity. Yeah, and you visualize an experience with them. Now, if we take, deceased loved ones, it's easy. You will remember situations, and it's very important that you memorize these moments of excellence with them. But if you use entities, or St. Michael's, or Christ, or saints, then you would have to remember or tune into the feeling that you have when you connect with them. I would not suggest that you do this with entities that you do not have a positive experience or any experience with. Only do this with entities, even archangels, or like spirit guides, or guardian angels, that you have a direct experience with. Direct experience, okay? It's important. Then write their names on a piece of paper, okay, and call them in. Yeah, this is basically how I do this with energy sessions. I do that as well in this way. And pick a prayer, or an invocation, or maybe a poem or a mantra that you dedicate to them. Yes, it's like a little gift, if you will, an offering. Yeah, that's for them. And then number 5, and this is actually something that our culture has completely sort of eradicated or forgotten about, is to tune into music or literature or a painting. You can do all of the above, but particularly, reading something to them. You know how they say when people are in coma, you should tell them stories or read things to them because they can hear you? This is the same for, our for the past, for the souls that are past. Okay, they will hear us when we read to them. Not with their ears, because they no longer have ears, but through the resonance of our energy. If you have, like, say, a grandmother that always used to read a story to you or whatever, then pick that book and read a passage. It could also be a passage from the Bible, or, any author that you like, something that has significance for the relationship between you and the soul in the spirit realm that you're contacting. And then allow that sort of to lighten up their path. You have to strengthen their energy, and as you strengthen their energy, you are strengthening your own. Yeah, you are connecting with all those who were on the path before you, who went through outer chaos, who went through desperation, who went through fear, who went through heartache, who went through confusion. You connect with their strength, okay, and call it in for yourself. And you will feel when it's enough, when it's done. And when you're done, then you release them into their realm, very similar to how we do this with the karmic clearing. You thank them for sharing their light with you, and you send them off in love. And then the very last steps that you do is basically reversing the previous steps. You close the book, you remove the picture, and you extinguish the candle and let them go in love. I've never shared this before in this way, but I hope that this will help you to become able to just sort of apply your spiritual values in the physical. I noticed in the past that you take great value in these sort of practical tips. That's why we have so much discussion and sharing and so forth about our inner experiences and what worked for us, because we are connecting with one another in this way as well. And you can now perhaps also understand why I do these invocations, why I do these energy alignments, and why I do them with you together at the same time. At this point, where I'm starting the personal readings, I want to remind you that Halloween is a profanity. It's a profaning of the sacredness of these traditional celebrations of the Day of the Dead, the All Saints and All Soul traditions, to call in sort of the artillery of the spirit realm through inverting it, through aligning people to the fear and the horror and the disgust of all that is cold, all that is zombie-like, all that is vampire-like, which functions like the desensitization, especially for our kids, also through a lot of the video games and the movies and everything is super dangerous, especially for our youth. And so I want to invite all of you on the night of Halloween to join me in this free energy session called Cosmic Intelligence, where we basically sort of counteract this. We counteract it. It will be at an inconvenient time for many of you, but those of you working with me in the Energy Training Club, it will be right after our last marathon session of that day. Okay, so right after we continue with calling in cosmic intelligence to counteract this attempt of our man to have a triumph over our minds here in the physical plane. So I'm looking forward to that. It's a little special. And I will do one on the 9th of November in form of our Connect with Your True Self, celebrating the end of the battle in heaven. So that will be, basically sort of the two free energy meditation sessions with me this month, directly aligning to these energies that are in the field. For most of us, November is going to be a little tricky, so we have to remember, the overall developmental stages that we have to go through, and it's not that we have to do this sort of step by step. They're overlapping. So when we learn to overcome our desires, our anger, learn to overcome the binds to materialism that comes with the fear of survival, when we learn to cultivate love and, selflessness. These things are overlapping, okay? Same with sort of the higher spiritual goals that, we're all aiming at, becoming a conscious co-creator, becoming aware of our higher path and trusting in our higher guidance. These things, they all sort of happen simultaneously, if you will, but at certain or under certain weather conditions, they come out, they move into the foreground. So here, in November, being, like mostly sort of filled with this Aramanic materialism energy, the fear of the unknown, the fear of dying, the fear of survival, it attacks our intellectual soul, our thinking. That's why I called it mind fires. And the antidote for that is basically, to trust in our higher guidance and to pay more attention to that and not to get too distracted by the material fears. The fact that you have them, you will not be able to change that. That's part of your human condition. Yeah, that is the compassion for the human condition that we need to develop. How we can tune more into our inspirational soul and our higher spiritual goals is already known to you guys. It's the 7 commitments that can help us to build a bridge between the material and the spiritual reality, which is basically our overall goal to, integrate that which is already in us, but that isn't working together yet. Okay? Yeah, so when they all work together in form of our unified self, that is then when we can experience our own divine nature. But this is, sort of the path that we are all on here in a longer sort of developmental or evolutionary process. So the fact that you are struggling with this or that, doesn't mean that you're a bad human or that you're not high enough developed. It just means that you're just going through the steps that are needed, and like everybody else. It's just that sometimes different things come forward for different people at different times, and just like with how our wisdom and our maturity grows as we get older, we are learning that there are some things we just simply have to go through. It's always easy to see when you look at children and you look at, maybe teenagers or whatever, and you see all their confusions and them being hormonal and going through all the drama, knowing that in a few years from now they won't even be able to remember what it all was that created the drama, because they will be so much wiser or so much more mature. That's how we can learn to let go what hinders us or what distracts us or what wastes our energy. That's where we will experience the main growth in November. The spiritual challenge, or like really sort of the methodology that we can use, similar to the remembrance celebration here that I mentioned earlier, is to really sort of try to tune into visualizing our inner feelings and like how our thoughts determine the quality of our feelings. So in November, it's all about the mind virus. It's all about your mind playing tricks on you, okay? And so you have to go in with the intention to uncover that. And the way you do that is not by going into a battle with your ego, and going into this endless back and forth, but by investigating the energetic quality of your feelings, of your thoughts, and then sort of consciously choose to move up. Here, Hawkins' map of consciousness, that we work, as sort of a roadmap, how to get out of certain states and lower states into higher states. Learn to consciously shift your energy out of these lower states, and the hardest part is often to identify that we're actually in a lower state. Just think of things like righteousness and stuff like that. You feel, even anger, it feels so justified. It feels so right. Okay. But you're going to have to learn to identify that. Yeah. When your ego is sort of projecting, the righteousness, or, like the reasoning and so forth, the rationalization, the justifications. That's how you can often identify it. So here just the overall analysis of collective vibrations this coming month, not looking good. Yeah, so quite low quality here of energies as to be expected. That's why I talked about darkness and how it's going to come in. It's going to come in through our mind. And the way this will be perceived by us is having all these previously mentioned justifications and projections of anger in us, that make it right, to be mean to other people or to fight back. There is a very strong impulse to defend your home, to defend your family, to defend your homeland this month, okay? That's also why the examples with the soldier aren't too far-fetched, because this is a new impulse here that wasn't there in October. This is something that, especially here in the United States, will come up as a new word, perhaps even like the word home front. Okay, that's a word that Germans know real well. Yeah, so what's going on your home front, actually in your land, your home, your boundaries, okay? We have this very, very strong impulse to act and to, go to weapons and defend, but maybe there is a little bit of a mind trick here, because what it is that we think we have to defend ourselves from might just be, trickery. We might just be told that it is so without checking on it. A very prominent example for that is, what was going on in the years of 2020 till 23, with the issues that we had there with the lockdowns and so forth. Yeah, so just here as a hint for you that you need to double check on what it is that you think you have to fight against. Very, very important. Physically, keep things in the, like breathing through things, calming yourself, lots of chamomile tea, I would say. There is so much anger energy that can lead to physical pain, especially joint pain. Due to the low vibration of the energy in November, it can also trigger core addictions. It's very first chakra, guys, very first chakra. Everything that you see here, the pain of the past, unresolved inner child issues, karmic issues, will get triggered. People with a sensitive stomach will feel this in their stomach area. Also, obviously when you have anxiousness, in that combination of your heart sort of clamping up and your sternum feeling like a real barrier. Yeah, you feel this barrier between your third and your fourth chakra, almost like in the most physical way, believing that you have a heart attack or something. So that's because your third chakra, your understanding of yourself, is under attack. And the antidote for that is, really going in, grounding with yourself and self-centering and feeling, remembering yourself. Yeah. Otherwise, your nervous system will get triggered up to the wazoo, with you seeing all kinds of things in your inner mind's eye, having like nightmares and stuff. It's very, very real. So if you have a hard time sleeping right now, if you have lots of weird dreams and stuff, understand that that's part of the low vibrational energy coming in here for November. Those of you with, issues with lungs, asthma, or sort of respiratory issues like myself, you'll see that, this fear of, something that is dear to you could be taken away from you, can trigger quite a bit of sort of respiratory illnesses here in November. Further in the energetic analysis, you'll see that the energetic triggers and resonances affect you in certain ways. I just basically described it already. Here's the more subjective perspective of this. It will trigger your core fears, and that then sort of produces all these error perceptions, these false conclusions based on loneliness, separation. Like when you feel like you have to defend yourself, it's always because you feel like you're alone and like a cornered animal. Okay, you'll lash out. So the very thing that I just described here on the physical level is underlying, or what underlies these physical manifestations are these sort of energetic spiritual dynamics, where your mind is going into this defense mode, into this battle mode, and literally sees everything as an attack. And at the same time, and this is sort of the saving grace for all of us, comes a very, very strong yearning for spiritual connection. That's why remembrance is such an important frequency to tune into, to connect with your ancestors, connect with the saints and the avatars and the angels, or whatever it is that brings you spiritual connection, your higher self, if you can, that sort of gives you it helps you triangulate yourself within the spiritual realm, and also helps others to navigate, by shining your light into the darkness. But be aware that this month will come with a lot of irrational fears. It's a full-on first chakra attack, guys, and will trigger all these here self-worth issues, coping addictions, child past wounds, karmic wounding, and so forth. That is very, very difficult to address with your mental mind, okay? Especially if your mental mind is manipulated. So you will not be able to find solutions in the rational. You have to go into the spiritual and seek for, true self-love, the love that you have for your own spirit self, and that's then what allows you to tap into your higher guidance, and that can help you with, sort of fully engaging and consciously engaging in orchestrated action, like what is really needed at a certain time. That's orchestrated. It's not all just your making. It's really the higher guidance that is making you do things, and your job is to allow that and to follow through with a trust in this. And you can fortify this, you can strengthen this through, the remembrance, through, bringing in all those who have walked this path before you. Yeah. So here now the important dates for this November forecast and analysis. You see here these last couple days in October. It's really important that we go inward, that we take a time out. So I mentioned in the True Self Talk for October that, sometimes it's good to crawl into your cave. This would be some, a time like this where, instead of sort of allowing yourself to get caught in these racing thoughts and all that, what's going to happen, and, what if this president gets elected, and what if this, and what if Iran, throws nuclear weapons on Israel and stuff. All these questions, you have to give yourself a break from that because they're not in your power. And when you go inward, that's when you will feel, your inner guidance, at least, you will sharpen and refine and purify your spiritual senses and organs to a point that, your inner guidance can actually be perceived by you. There's emotional stuff going on and a weird sort of sense of loss. Okay, guys, I called it here the illusion of deep loss. Okay. While this can come in your dreams, I strongly recommend that you investigate all the pictures, all the inner imagery, okay, and seek sort of for the antidote, because this is an illusion. Yeah, nothing is being lost or has been lost. Okay, what it is that you feel as a loss right now is merely the projection that you had. Kind of like in the Matrix movie, like all the stuff that you believed in and all the stuff that you never questioned and the stuff that you took granted for. So it's the illusion that is going away, and that is actually a positive process. So you're going to have to learn to trust in this. A warning here, the collective energies are very dissociating. Starting with Halloween, I mean, that's, it's... I mentioned this earlier, Halloween is sort of a desensitization training for your mind and your system, okay, to accept fear and horror as part of your reality. You have to understand this. If you are like me, if you've always been sort of naturally repelled by horror movies, if you take them into your dreams and you see all kind of demonic figures and stuff after you watched something like this or listened to something like this, then trust that inner feeling. This is not normal. We're not supposed to be dealing with these imageries, okay? They are basically black magic, guys. That's a way for your mind to get tricked into overcoming your natural repulsion of darkness and immorality and certain things that are just like really not okay. Yeah. So especially your children, be aware of how subversive this can be for your intellect and especially for children in their development. I see this as a teacher, as a principal every day. I see the damage that it does to children, and it creates lifelong trauma and susceptibility to darkness. Now, some of us are born with sort of a natural access to dark energies. This is many of my clients, including myself, just came into this life with sort of 1 foot in the underworld. That has a different purpose. That's different. I still don't like the horror, even though I grew up with it, okay? So just because I've seen a lot of these horrific things in the etheric doesn't mean that I allow my ego to feel familiar with it, okay? Because that's how the ego gets tricked into normalizing it. Yeah, do not allow that to happen. For all November, you will feel the transformation, the change that is coming as forceful. Yeah, it's not coming naturally. For some of you, it will come like suddenly, and for others, you'll have to go through a phase of kicking and screaming until you realize that it was just something you had to go through. Yeah, you will know things before you know them. So if your mind can't make sense of things that you feel as inner guidance you should do, in November, trust it, okay? Because you can't trust your mind. Or let's say you trust your mind even less, okay? It all, of course, depends on your energetic training and awareness and, your spiritual wisdom, because, there are some things that you should never trust in. but that needs to be learned. Yeah, we don't, we don't have enough of that collectively sort of internalized yet. We have all the organs and senses to discern truth and discern, deceit and unlovingness and the demonic and all that, yeah, to recognize darkness, but we're not being taught how to do this right. So that's, why so many of us are awakening to this out of the necessity to learn to discern it, because there's just too much darkness in this world now. That's how the dark works for the light in the end. Yeah, so new moon 1st of November starts right off. It's a very visionary day. So if you look at the energy calendar, you'll see there'll be, purple days. Those are days where you can very easily tune into the spirit realm, where you can get great input, great inspiration. It's actually kind of good for new business ideas. It just still needs to be a little grounded, and the timing might not be right, because there's still a lot that sort of has to go down before we can start sort of rebuilding things. There's a lot that has to be let go of first. So use this time to connect with your spirit world and to get visions and to get, sort of input. Okay, pay attention to all of these, inputs. Okay, and don't judge them. Just write them down. Yeah, keep a diary. Good, really, really good month to buy yourself a beautiful journal, because there's going to be a lot of that. So don't judge your visions, your dreams. Okay, they have a tendency to sort of retrocausally unfold or unwind later. So later you will be able to understand what they meant in hindsight. So I wrote here November 2nd, outer chaos begins. Obviously, the outer chaos is already going on, if you're asking me. But it will be sort of unmistakable, for everybody to see. Yeah, the power struggles, the mud throwing, and it feels like kindergarten. Because it's mostly all based on pain of the past. So for us in our personal lives, a lot of the inner child stuff is going to come forward. Here, the word home front that I described earlier, it's also in this first week of November where it comes in. Yeah, strong impulse to defend home and land, shocking revelation. So when something gets shattered, when illusions get shattered, we have this tendency to overreact, to go into the other extreme. Take this with a grain of salt, guys. I know a lot of people in the United States are just waiting for sort of the powder keg to ignite, but it'll be a big mistake. Yeah, it will backfire. It's way too raw, way too irrational, and doesn't actually resolve anything, yeah, other than sort of unleashing, the repressed anger. The good thing is, like I described in the forecast, that, when people go through crisis together, they have a tendency to overcome diversity much more easily. So we'll be much more connected, or feel much more connected with like-minded, and come together based on our pure love for truth. Yeah, that's in the end sort of the victory of truth. Yeah, the victory over the harmonic forces. Yeah. So dangerous here is the impulse for sort of yearning for what's missing. This is coming out of a deficit. We need to be a little more conscious here, a little more constructive with it. Yeah, so you can't just make your life decisions based on, the scarcity or the lack that you previously had. You have to come in and open yourself up for what truly matters to you, what is truly sacred to you, only then will you find your true path, right? This requires a critical contemplation around the full moon times. What's worth it? Yeah, and what are the things where I should make no compromises? Yeah, like what is really important to me, and what am I not giving up, and what is like really not important to me anymore, and I don't need it in my life anymore. I don't want to waste my time with this. Yeah, that will not come easy to us, okay? Because there will be things that we have to let go of that we were invested in for years, okay? And that will then lead to this like sort of deep surrender feeling. So it, I wrote here, let go of what is holding you back from growing. But, that said, it doesn't mean that it has been holding you back from growing. It may have supported your growth tremendously up until now. But from here on, it will just hold you back. Okay? So whatever that might be, guys, be aware of that. There is something that you will have to kind of surrender to move into sort of a higher unfolding of your journey, your spiritual journey and your material journey. Become a good energy manager. Manage your energies. Beware of profaning of sacredness. This is a big sort of MO, yeah, that darkness has right now to distract you, to disconnect you from, the sacredness of your own life, and everything that comes with when we talk about the divine and so forth. These are like really, really huge sort of cosmic powers that we're talking about. This is not to be taken lightly. This is not like a fad or something that you can use to be cool or something. There is some serious power behind, these spiritual forces that are at work here. And it's important that we encounter it, that we work with it in humbleness, with humility. So toward the end of the month, we'll see that some of the stuff that seemingly felt like there could never be a compromise, that harmonizing is possible. The bigger picture will be revealed, but not entirely yet. So we'll feel that there is a solution, but we don't really know yet how to get there. That is part of November energy, and this won't resolve until the end of December, guys. Actually, all the way into February. But step by step, we'll see the steps that make it more clear to us, okay, how we can harmonize, our need for stability, for security, but also our need for growth and our need for more connection. They're not contradictory. We just have to work the steps. We can't do this in the ways we used to do this, with pointing out the differences and using those differences to separate. We have to find ways to celebrate our differences and recognize how that, basically enlarges, the range, how it makes everything better. So when you work with, your spirit self, and your soul development, you will find that, most of the ego paradigms of the, avoiding pain and seeking pleasure are exactly what needs to be overcome to grow. Not to say that we all have to suffer and, that we should deprive ourselves of joy. On the contrary, but that is a realization that can only come with sort of the earnest spiritual work that is required to understand that, the fear of death, the fear of the unknown are fundamentally mental constructs, illusions, yeah, and that sort of unbridled desire and lust is nothing but, another type of darkness that also disconnects you from yourself and others. So unity lies in overcoming the two, and finally then recognizing that you can have your own identity, you can have your own self within a larger collective without, having to give up your identity, because that's, what we used to do. We had to give up our identity in order basically to follow the flock, and that's how we're going to end up in this bifurcated place where we have the people that are, just basically become drones and follow sort of the hive mind, and the people that understand that they are an individuated soul self, and that they can have an active part in co-creating. For the entire collective to realize that will take a few hundred more years. New this month, I decided to put like collective sort of ancient or traditions and celebrations in context with the energy reading. You can see how they beautifully sort of come together. As for the energy calendar for November, you'll find that on my website. Here, just a quick reminder, due to this special energies that come in with Halloween, I would like to invite all of you to a free energy healing and training event on Halloween night at 10 p.m. Eastern Time. This will be the last EDT time, okay, on the weekend following the new moon, the 2nd, 3rd November. We will also do time change in the United States. So Thursday, October 31st, 10 p.m. Eastern Daylight Saving Times, Cosmic Intelligence Meditation, free energy and healing event for all of you guys. I need to do a sign-up link. You will find this on my website as soon as I'm done with this. Yeah, so this is basically the month here in an in-depth analysis. You will be able to listen to the energy alignment for November called Embracing Change. And those of you who requested absentee readings will receive a recording on their personal thread with me as an audio file. Thank you very much, everybody. I am so happy that we are on this journey together. All right, consider becoming part of our Sacred Self-Healing community, or if you want to go deeper, want to learn about spiritual science, the spiritual initiation process, consider the Gray Soul Self program, or join our monthly energy training club with at least sort of 10 to 15 energy sessions, training sessions a month, including this tune-up with reading and clearings and so forth. Just shoot me an email if you have any questions, or comment down here in the comment section. Thank you, everyone. As always, stay conscious. To the love and peace within, I dedicate myself. I am one with my true self, the part in me that is unchanging, eternal and infinite. And yet, I embrace change as an evolutionary path of my being, and trust in my true self to guide me on how to unfold my highest potential, facing the winds of change. I accept all experiences as learning experiences and feel nothing but gratitude for any opportunity to grow into my conscious soul self. I am willing to embrace all my feelings and emotions and accept them as part of my inner truth. For this, I consciously align myself to inner sensations. I want to feel when I am reacting to inner triggers. I want to feel when I am caught in my fear. I want to feel when I am projecting or absorbing energies. And I want to feel when I need space to center myself. By allowing my heart to show me truth and hope at all times, I can learn to silence the fear of change, embrace the temporary state of chaos, and use my soul self-awareness as a creative power and way to communicate my true needs, true desires, and boundaries more clearly. I have nothing to hide or to defend. My intention is to be authentic and real, so that I can be centered, calm and non-reacting. I seek the higher expression of who I am, nothing more and nothing less. I won't settle for anything less than truth, love, or freedom. I dedicate my energy to be open for all new learning experiences in alignment with my higher abilities and the highest level of soul self-protection here and now and on all levels of existence. This is my higher path. Through the power in my heart, I herewith clear all attachments, limitations, and any energetic ties and karmic binds in any dimension or time to any person, entity, or ego illusion. Nothing and no one has the right to violate my integrity or boundaries, to restrict my freedom, or make me believe in untruths or lovelessness. I make conscious choices, and therefore, I no longer enable life-degrading energies in or around me. I trust in my ability to sense anything or anyone compromising my trust in self and the freedom to manifest my higher path, now and at all times. I love who I am. True self, I appreciate you. I forgive myself for not always listening to you in the past. I didn't know any better. But now, I recognize the divine wisdom in your guidance and the purpose of reminding me to connect within. Thank you for my energetic sensitivity, as it shows me when I need to stand my ground, when I need to let go, when I need to self-correct, and when I need to heal, because I am not in truth. Show me the path to my heart. Show me the path to more love and more freedom in my life. And encourage me to embrace and express how I truly feel. I want you to be the voice of my heart. Let me hear your voice and empower me to trust that I can make the right decision at the right time. Show me my projections and where I need more truth, so that I can live in the consciousness of loving myself and others without fear and forgiving compassion. I am present in my heart at all times, in any dimension or time, to enjoy the dance of energy within and around me. It allows me to feel alive and reminds me of who I truly am. When the roaring winds of change are blowing into my face, I stay calm and feel how I am becoming real. When my ego is kicking and screaming, I embrace it, knowing that I am growing. When fear is trying to take over, I breathe through it and remember that I have a choice. And when my heart is aching, I love myself regardless and shine my inner light brighter into where it's most needed. Now, I can rest in my heart, as all there is left to do is to create and live my life in truth, love, and freedom. Thank you.